We won, guys!
Go!
We are improving, guys! Woohoo! Yana, well played.
And for the first time in history, the fourth consecutive EU LCS title, G2 Esports.
Misfits the underdogs in this game. No one expected anything, but they hit hard.
Jankos, the first blood king! Let's make this a clean fight.
Welcome to the EOLCS studio in Berlin, Germany. We got the first taste of the new patch yesterday, and with the teams gaining some more knowledge, we are excited to see what they will bring to the Rift today. Hello everyone, I'm Eva Schock-Supporter, joined by Maurice Amazing Stuckenschneider. Every time I say it, I think I get more confident in saying your name.
It sounds pretty good by now.
Can you say mine?
No.
All right. Well,
Not gonna try that.
Something to work on. Well, yesterday we did see some of the changes with the new patch, with champions like Jinx and Nunu finding their way through picks and bans. Jinx, it seems like much like when we used to see her, once she gets rolling, it's very hard to stop her.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you get to the 3-item spike, I think especially when you have the rapid fire king, there's nothing that can stop you from getting excited at some point in the team fight. And we see it here clearly. Just see by cleaning up and win the game for the Giants.
Yes, Nunu, on the other hand, a very high presence, banned a lot of times. We only saw him once on the Rift when Fnatic brought him out. Hard to tell exactly how much of influence he had, but the fact that he's changing up picks and bans is definitely an interesting evolution and a welcome one.
Yeah, definitely. We get kind of tired of the J4 Sejani meta at this point, and Nunu just being there, kind of like a force to be reckoned with, is really interesting because people now have to think about, hey, do I want to play against Nunu Azir? Do I want to play against Nunu Kotma? And the answer seems to be no.
Yeah, there seems to be no indeed. Let's see how that translated into the standings, because before the split, few would have picked Giants as frontrunners, but that is exactly where they are. Together with Misfits Gaming and Vitality, those are the top three at number 1. And then Splice, G2, Schalke and Fnatic, 4 teams expected to fight in the top, are currently in 5th place. So things are looking a bit different than we had expected, and I especially want to know what you think about that tie for 5th place with those highly anticipated teams not finding their form.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We definitely expect them to be the in the top 5. So having seen them like almost being out of the playoff spot with 2 of them being out of it is incredibly weird for me to see, because Schalke especially was hyped coming into the split with all the chains coming in. We expected more. Fnatic just exchanged 1 member. So again, we had expectations and they didn't quite match them so far.
But it is kind of cool because if we see the evolution of the league, it means that some of the teams in the top, even if they start dropping games, the playoff race is already on, because they will still have a lot of points when we get near that, and it's going to be a very, very hotly contested race at that. Well, these teams have all got a chance to gain some ground today. However, if we got 5 more games, we do have 5 more games coming your way.
Are you sure?
To close out the week, I'm very sure, because it is right there. Unicorns of Love versus Vitality. Of course, Schalke, Fnatic. I just see a lot of teams that yesterday had a rough one, you know. Fnatic had that long game versus Misfits. Schalke had that hard game versus Vitality. So a lot of these teams will be looking for a confident boost.
Yeah, we always like to talk about, yeah, this team is built for playoffs. This team is going to do well later on in the split, but you still want to carry on some kind of momentum into the middle part of the split, especially because I think a lot of the playoff standings are decided, like basically in the weeks 4 to 6, especially. And I think Fnatic needs the confidence boost, and Splice kind of needs to get up there.
Yeah, you don't want to put yourself in the position where 1 week before playoffs you have these must-win games or you're not going to make it. Definitely, they want to have a bit of a buffer. And so do the 2 teams that are up on the slate as the first matchup, the Unicorns of Love versus Vitality. Starting off with the Unicorns, they had 0 wins going into this week, and we were looking at some individuals to step up. And yesterday versus H2K, it was a better picture. Unicorns of Love looked more controlled and took home a win due to some individuals deserving some praise.
Yes, the early aggression coming in around Exile is something I really, really like and appreciate, because Exile, he's always been taunted like as someone that can throw games for you, can lose games for you with his over-aggression. So supporting him and actually playing to his strengths, which obviously is rise pick and early aggression around him, is something I really want to see more out of Unicorns, and I'm glad that they did play around him yesterday.
Yeah, we see his highlight here from Exile. For him personally, a confidence boost, momentum going. Cold said in the interview afterwards, we played more controlled, and possibly that is just what we have to focus on, not that much chaos. Well, we'll see how much they develop into chaos when they play the next team up on the slate, Vitality, because Unicorns of Love, slow start. Vitality, fast start. They came into the split with guns blazing, picking up a lot of important wins, and most recently, yesterday, beating Schalke with an explosive playstyle on the Rift and explosive reactions after the Rift.
Yeah, who's overrated now is the
Who's
question.
overrated now?
I don't think Vitality's overrated. They definitely came out swinging, and what I like about that roster is just that they're so confident, not just outside of the Rift, but on the Rift too, that they're not afraid to make the play even when they're behind. And I think they're one of the only teams, if not the only team, actually actively looking for wins instead of just passively accepting, yeah, we can wait for mistakes.
Yeah, and an example of that is the bottom lane, Jack Troll and Mini Trupax. Obviously, a lot of eyes on Mini Trupax versus Upset, but Jack Troll really had some engages where he just seized the moment. He went in, and maybe it wasn't the best decision, but the whole team was behind him, and they made advantages out of it.
Yeah, from what I've heard, he's obviously baiting if he's misplaying, but that's a whole another story to tell him. But yeah, he's definitely confident in his engages, and he's confident in his team to follow up, and that's a great thing to see out of a technically rookie team.
And amazing. We talked a lot in PGL yesterday about how it might influence Upset, that Mini Trupax was so hard-handed in his word usage in the interview. But how do you think it's going to evolve for Mini Trupax? Because it seems like the passion is alive, obviously. An Italian and a Portuguese player, no surprises there. Do you think it's always going to be aggression? And might that be to their detriment? What if the Unicorns of Love come out swinging and get a big advantage, and every engage that they try does not work out?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think Gilius, especially from what I've seen, like from the Magic 2, I remember, is that he's really calm, and he's always like trying to calm down other players around him. So I don't think the emotions are going to run as high as I expected them to, but I still think that Mini Trupax is going to look for things that make him aggressive in the early game in the other player. For example, just building up some confidence. Hey, I'm going to trash this guy or whatever it is, and just look for some personal vendetta almost.
Personally, I feel like it will be very hard for the Unicorns of Love to win versus Vitality today, just because Vitality look so on par and already so connected. Do you think there's a chance, and where would that chance lie for Unicorns?
The chance lies for the Unicorns in getting Rise, ideally. They want to have an aggressive early pick in mid lane that has hard to see, ideally, that they can synergize with. Because I think that Code especially is someone that likes to self-sacrifice for the laners. And I think that's more his style than trying to like late game carry through carry champions like Rengar, Kayn. I don't think that's his place at all. I want him to play J4, play Sejuani, and just play on Exile and enable him.
Yeah, and we want to see some big plays. We got our first view of the new patch and standout performances from the best in Europe. So we are curious to know what you want to highlight from Week 3. Hit us up at LOL Esports on Twitter with your big plays, and watch your favorites in the EU LCS post-game lobby at the end of the day. But for now, it is time to kick things off with the Unicorns of Love versus Vitality. So let's send it over to our casters and get on to that Rift.
Thank you, Shocks. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Aaron Medic Chamberlain. Joining me today is the Welshman himself. It's Andrew Vedieste.
Thank you very much, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, although I just watched the Wales versus Scotland match, and I'm feeling pretty sad.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good day, and we've got even more fantastic games coming up with our first one, Unicorns of Love versus Vitality.
We're almost ready for that opening game, but let's first check in with the lineup. Starting on the blue side, it's the Unicorns of Love. In the top lane is White Knight. Their jungler is Cold. Exile is their mid laner. Samux their AD carry. Totoro their support. And their coach, of course, is Sheepy.
Unicorns of Love finally getting themselves a win on the board, and they're looking to make it another one against the powerhouse team of Vitality. Their top laner, Cabochard, jungler Gilius, mid laner Jizuke, AD carry Mini Trupax, support Jack Troll, and their coach, Yamato Cannon.
Vitality have been incredibly strong thus far. 4-1, beating Schalke yesterday. However, Unicorns of Love, as you said, picked up their first win as well, Vedius.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Unicorns of Love is I've been looking very closely at what they've been doing right and what they've been doing wrong. And I think yesterday was a really good example of one of the things that we've been looking at, which is that when they have winning lanes, they're actually very effective at playing through them. If you get individuals like Exile and Samex on these big comfort champions, then Cold feels much more confident in facilitating and supporting those individuals, allowing them to succeed. We've seen it twice now with Exile's Rise. First time round they weren't able to win. This time against H2K yesterday, they looked a lot more confident. So for the Unicorns in draft, I want to see these confident, I want to see these comfort picks coming in so that Cold can probably set up his laners for success.
Have to look for those winning lanes. Unicorns on the blue side have got rid of the Camille and the Alistair, whereas Vitality have taken away Exile's Rise, so that's one comfort pick gone, and Tahm Kench as well.
So there's the big comfort pick band away from Exile. We know that Jizuke is a very talented Rise. Not only did he get that 1v2 outplay, but he has some insanely impressive Rise stats. So even with those in mind, he's still going to take it off the board because they're showing their respect towards Exile. They know the Unicorns have the first pick.
Jizuki has insanely impressive stats on any champion he's played thus far.
True.
So I think he'll be more happy with the depth of his champion pool than with the depth of Exiles. Kalista is the final banner, Sejuani as well from the Unicorns, and this would be a turn up for the books. An early Zoe hover for the Unicorns of Love.
Now, so far this split, Exile has played a number of different champions, but yet to play Zoe. Looks like that he has added it to his champion pool. You would hope so, given that she is one of the big four right now in the middle lane, alongside Ryze, Azir, and Malzahar.
So if you're Vitality, you see the Zoe lock in, you know she's a very strong mid laner. What are you looking for on this rotation?
I mean, ideally, you want to go for the Malz, but on 8.2, he did receive a couple of nerfs that, to some mid laners, say that lowers his priority. So I wonder if Jizuke has his own answer, or whether or not he's just going to stick to standard.
There is the Malzahar that you predicted, Vedius. Great job there. We'll see what Vitality want to get next. Jungle pool is still very open, AD carries as well. We tend to see supports in this first rotation of picks as well.
Ooh, I would expect an early Cogmore here from Vitality. I feel like that given the strength of the current AD with Kalista banned away too, it would make a lot of sense, but go out for a blind pick Thresh.
I love this. I love this. This is Vitality saying, we think our bot lane is just better than you, UOL. We think we can dominate the lane matchup. Jack Troll is coming up. He's saying, give me my Thresh. I played it well in Challenger Series. I can do the same today, and they can dominate from the bot side of the map.
But it is going to give Unicorns the freedom to go for the Cogmore Braum. Very standard, very safe. You would assume Team Vitality are expecting this, and they would answer with something like a Caitlyn. One of many Trupax's comfort picks. The bottom lane duo of Caitlyn and Thresh is something that they had a lot of success with during the Challenger Series. And as you rightly said, I feel like that Mini Trupax and Jack Troll are here to send a message.
It's a confident play from Vitality, but Unicorns of Love have a very good lineup already forming here. You've got the Zoe, but great poke in the late game. You've got the Cogmore as well, who is just that late game scaling hyper carry. We have to see how Vitality are going to react.
Now, typically you would expect here for Team Vitality to either ban away top laners or junglers, because they have the first pick and they want to pinch that role as much as possible early on. With Sejuani already off the field, you could ban away things like the Zac and the Kha'Zix and get yourself an early Jarvan. Alternatively, you could ban away the Jarvan, but their eyes are set on top lane bans, and I would imagine that they'll now go for an early Jarvan rotation, or maybe even a Gragas onto the Gilius, and then round things out to give Cabochard that counter pick top lane.
Gilius has been playing more tank junglers in the EU LCS than these aggressive junglers he was well known for in the Challenger Series, so we'd very much expect to see a tank-orientated, a utility-orientated jungle pick for Vitality. Their second ban is the Ornn, another top lane ban, and now Unicorns of Love have to lock in the final ban of this matchup.
Now, White Knight has played 5 champions so far this split: Camille, Gangplank, Ornn, Gnar, and Vlad. Gnar is still available, but the vast majority of the others have been taken off the board.
His only win was on Gnar, though, so he's got a 100% record on that champion, Vedius.
Now, what I'm expecting here is Team Vitality to actually allow the Gnar through. Ooh. But Unicorn changed things up, because now I imagine Team Vitality's plan was to go for the Jace. They wanted to put Cabo again on that carry matchup, pair it up with the J4, and then look for early roams up towards the top side. But now that the Gnar has been banned, the top lane pool kind of expands. We go into deeper territory. We're moving towards the A and B tier top laners, and we'll see how things pan out.
There is the Jarvan pick that you expected Vitality to go for. Unicorns of Love looking for their top laner and their jungler here. Not too much left in the jungle pool in terms of the typical junglers we have seen, but Cold was very well known for his utility junglers last year. Hasn't been that focused on them this year. Wouldn't be a surprise to see him go back towards a more utility-focused role.
Gragas was one of the comfort picks for Cold, along with Rek'Sai back in the, when he was on Splice. I feel like Zac could be a good pick here, would offer a nice engage. You've got pretty solid follow-up too. But I'm going to hold off and wait for a Unicorns Classic, because they do have this tendency to give a little bit more freedom to their individual players.
And Cold has had that freedom and has been pretty effective on these more aggressive junglers, but it looks like it is going to be the Kha'Zix for the Unicorns of Love.
Perfectly fine. I think this is... oh, no! Got bait and switch right at the end.
Right
So
at the
he's
last
gonna go
moment.
for the
I even
Gragas.
wrote Kha'Zix in my notes, Vedius.
So the thing about Gragas is, I've only really heard junglers say that he's good into things like Sejuani. The disengage can be very effective against that kind of engage composition. I can see the same principle going up against the Jarvan. And one of the things that we have to remember is that on this patch, Runic Echoes did receive an ever so slight buff on the side of the Gragas. So we'll have to see and talk a little bit more about that once we get into game, as Vitality round their things out with what looks like a Jax up in the top lane. I do believe, yes, Cabochard has played one Jax game so far this split. That was in their loss.
100% loss record on Jax. So we've got 100% win record on one side, 100% loss record on the other side. Never know what's going to happen in this game.
So the thing about the Jax is, naturally he's going to scale extremely well, and he gets a relatively safe lane into the Cho'Gath. You wouldn't typically expect the Cho to have much kill pressure over this matchup, but what you want to see from Vitality is, again, investment towards the top side. We've seen this over the last few weeks now, where Cabo has only played carry top laners, but only sometimes have we seen Gilius invest into Cabochard and set him up to be that carry, to be the snowballer. This game, when you have a Malzahar and you have a Jarvan, level 6, they should be top lane. They should be killing that Cho'Gath, and they should be setting up Cabochard to be the split-pushing threat later on into the game.
We'll have to see if Unicorns of Love have those winning lanes that we talked about at the start as well, Vedius. We'll come back to that as we get on to the Summoner's Rift. Unicorns of Love got their first win of the EU LCS split yesterday. Vitality got their fourth. They are looking at the top of the pack, where the Unicorns are sitting at the bottom, but all can change here in Europe. And as we get on to the Summoner's Rift for the first game of the day, Vedius, I want to talk about winning lanes, and I want to talk about Cold in particular. We said before we got into picks and bans that Cold was looking for these winning lanes. Unicorns of Love play so well around these winning lanes, Vedius. With this composition, do you see any particular points where the Unicorns will be able to put some pressure?
So, the problem with Unicorns comp right now is that their only real pushing lane is in the top. Zoe will have a little bit more pressure once she gets a couple levels under her belt, but very early on against Malzahar, actually she should have decent push, because Malzahar, ever since the changes to him a while back, his early game wave clear has actually been extremely weak. So I would imagine that Exile should have push in this middle lane. He should be fine. But it can be really obnoxious to try and gank away a Malzahar, especially on someone like Zoe, who can sometimes struggle to pop away that pass.
And especially against a team like Vitality, who have done so well thus far this split. Came in very much as rookies to the split, but if you just look at how dominant they've been, the M lead at the end, that's the majority lead statistic, and it shows how much of the time a team is in a major gold advantage in a game. So they spend almost half of their time in a major lead.
Yeah, Team Vitality have had a fantastic start to the split. Expectations were that they'd be middle of the pack. Team of rookies, first time on LCS stage. They'd take a while to adapt and play against some of the more veteran talent. Nope, they came in with confidence. They showed that again with their draft today, going for a very early Thresh lock-in, even with the Braum available. And they basically come out the gate swinging, already earning a very solid reputation among many of the fans as Jizuke potentially being the best mid laner in Europe, Mini Trupax proving his dominance. Speaking of dominance, Gilius is looking to exert some over in the top lane.
You said you wanted to see him invest time in the top side. That's exactly what he's doing. Looking for the stun. Cabochard gets caught out in the counter-strike, and the red buff is ticking. White Knight does have the flash, but is going to be able to get away underneath the tower. Gilius taking it, gets first blood as well.
Great way to start for Vitality. You really do want to set up this Jax for success in the early game, but that's typically not how early you would normally want to see that kind of jungler if you're White Knight. He's just trying to go for the early push. He knows against the Jax he has that kind of pressure, but Gilius starts on red, doesn't clear any other camps, and is just able to set up a very easy kill.
Good EQ flash from him as well to catch out on towards White Knight, who's now burnt teleport to come back into the lane. You can see Cold realizes that Gilius might spend some more time up towards that top side, so he's going to try and get some counter jungling done.
Well, the thing about Cold is he started on his red, did Raptors, went over to Wolves. He knows that after the first gank top, Gilius has to back. He wants to spend some of the gold, but also he didn't have the HP to continue jungling. That means that Cold has the information to just steal away enemy jungle camps from the top side of the map. That will put a bit of vision down, as a good hook lands onto Samex. And Cold effectively punishes Gilius for that early game.
And Cold has been a key member of the Unicorns of Love. We heard it from him yesterday. He feels like he's the leader, he's the captain of this team. He's been doing the most damage of any jungler as part of his team's share. He's got the best damage per minute difference with his opposing junglers, and he's involved in the most kills of any jungler in the EU LCS compared to the averages of the rest of the junglers.
And this is why, for many analysts, they're actually concerned about this Unicorns roster, because when you're relying on a player like Cold who is not...
Oh, Ignite goes out! Exile! Exile's gonna get a 1v1! Against Jizuke!
Excellent start to the mid lane matchup for Exile. Getting a solo kill down onto Jizuke is going to do a lot for his confidence, and a great way to start up in the 1v1 matchup.
Sorry for hitting you there, but I got a little bit overexcited by that. It's not often we see Exile pop off like that. The Zoe pick, obviously something he's been practicing. Even took the minion dematerializer to help him push up the lane into the Malzahar. Works out so well for you.
And we talked about how Cold wants to be playing around the successful lanes. He wants to be taking advantage of these pushing lanes, and by getting a kill early in mid, this is going to be fantastic to follow up. Now, note, Exile has the Proto Bell on his Spell Thief, is able to land the Sleep, and has a huge amount of burst. Jizuke thinks that with the Cleanse, he will be able to walk away cleanly, but Exile using the Flash reprocs the W, which is enough damage to get the kill. Now Jack Troll forced to Flash after taking a Winter's Bite that he didn't really want to take.
However, Mini Trupax and Jack Troll do have a 10 CS lead in that bottom lane. It's kind of what we expected to see with them pushing up like this. It means that Gilius doesn't need to invest too much time into the bottom side of the map. And it does shut Samex and Totoro down for the moment. Having a quick look across the runes here, the keystones, you've got 4 unsealed spellbooks on the side of the Unicorns, even Cold taking one on the Gragas. So on a track, what he decides to switch that smite out for.
Another TP jungler like we saw from Maxtor yesterday.
Having the extra cooldown on the flash definitely helps the Gragas as well.
Very true. Gilius and Cold, 2 passing ships in the night.
Interesting to see Cabochard take Kleptomancy here as his rune, because that was nerfed a little bit for melee champions on 8.2. It's not a drastic nerf, it's not as big as the range nerf, but it is a nerf.
Look at Jack Troll, he is roaming down though.
Cold's gonna get knocked up. There's the hook, but he flashes away from Exile, trying to get the Sleepy Trouble Bubble in from the side, and the Unicorns will be able to get the hell out of there.
Jack Troll went for an early base before his AD carry. That meant that while Mini Trupax was back and buying, Jack Troll had an opportunity to roam, and by moving with Gilius, they were able to get a bit of punish down onto Cold and force his flash out. So, like that map movement there from Jack Troll, not wasting any time, just lingering in the bottom lane.
When we talked about this in Picks and Bans, we talked about winning lanes. We said maybe it's the top lane that Cold would want to focus on. Now that Exile's a kill up and is able to get back into the lane and push out into Jizuki, can Cold switch his focus on this top lane?
I mean, it's not that he wants to gank top lane a lot. It was just that when you look to the pushing lanes, you typically expect top and mid to be the 2 lanes with which Cold could take advantage of. But due to the early gank that happened down onto White Knight and the fact they didn't have flash, it became a slightly harder lane to gank, especially at the risk of a counter gank from Gilius. So his main focus should have been on early vision to try and prevent another gank from happening in the top lane, which is what you saw Cold doing. He went for the early counter jungling, he dropped a couple of wards in Vitality's jungle, and he basically said, alright White Knight, you're safe to push now because I'm very aware of where the enemy jungler is. Now that flashes are coming back up, we would imagine Cold to be a little bit more active moving into this point of the game, especially given that Jack Troll now has no flash. This is another point of opportunity for Unicorns of Love to try and take advantage of, especially with the double TP in the bottom lane from the Unicorns of Love. And I'd love to see Exile actually swap out for the TP so they can look to make a play down bot as well.
Especially with all of these level 6 being hit as well. White Knight has the Feast. Cold's on his way to getting that explosive cask. If you can get a portal jump in there, land a sleepy trouble bubble, you have to feel that either Mini Trupax or Jack Troll would not be long for the Rift. Cold's going to get spotted out by a couple of control wards there, realizes they're in the bush and is going to try and clean them out. Jizuki and Gilius are in the area, but Cold should be able to control this vision. Exile, Gilius is going to face check into him. Looking for some damage here. The heal comes out from Exile. There is the stopwatch as well. Jizuki jumps in, gets the suppression down. There's the hook as well from Jack Troll. And Vitality are able to collapse. Now Cold needs to get away from this fight because 3 members of Vitality are going to collapse on towards him. 2 kills across towards Vitality.
Gilius knew that Jack Troll would be able to rotate up faster and force this into a 3 versus 2. Even though White Knight had the teleport, he used it so late into the exchange that Vitality always had the numbers advantage. So in this situation, Gilius would typically back away, but already you can see the Thresh moving up through the river. Unicorns, they went for an engage, or they just weren't expecting the jungler to be in the brush. They very quickly get capitalized on, and it isn't until Exile is pretty much dead that the TP finally comes through. And because Cole did not have his flash after the roam from Jack Troll earlier, that allowed Vitality to get 2 very quick kills.
And allows Jizuki a little bit of relief in that lane. However, he is still 20 farm behind Exile, who on this Zoe is looking a lot stronger than he has been in the last few days. Double TP in the bot lane for the Unicorns. They want to get back and push out this lane as soon as possible. Jack Troll is unable to do that. He's gone for the Aftershock on his Thresh. And with an Infernal Drake on the cards, usually I'd expect to see perhaps a little bit more play down towards this bottom side. You can see Cold was trying to get some vision control around that area to make sure that Gilius couldn't just sneak it away.
I imagine that it will become a big point of contention, but for the time being, both sides focused on getting that early item as quickly as possible. Samex is going to want his Rage Blade before he really tries to look for any fights. Vitality would be in a decent position right now, but even then, with Jizuke not having the Morellonomicon completed just yet, they're a little afraid to kind of force this objective, and losing a fight around Dragon this early on could be very detrimental to the rest of the game. So both teams just playing it safe, and they just want to make sure that they maintain vision around that objective.
Definitely makes sense. Totoro has kept his teleport down in the bottom lane. Vitality might be starting up the Infernal Drake. 10 minutes in, they have a 1,500 gold lead, and Infernal Drake would sit pretty in their back pockets as well.
And this is the safe way to take it, how Vitality have just gradually pushed the vision line very deep into the enemy jungle. And that means
it's probably safe to have your smite when you try and take it as well.
Too, yeah, I mean, don't try that at home. Could have been a very sneaky steal. It was on 73 HP. That should have been enough for Samex to steal it. But it's very much revolved around the vision. Vitality just made sure that Unicorns couldn't see anything, bot was pushing, mid was pushing, everything was fine and dandy, and Vitality secured the first Infernal.
That's good stuff from Vitality. Gilius has seemed to lead this team pretty effectively across the last few weeks.
It's very true. Cold right now looking for a potential bot lane gank, and Trupax and Jack Troll are respecting it. But we've got to bring our attention back to the middle lane medic, because coming into this matchup, expectations were that Jizuke would just dumpster another opponent. Exile statistically has looked very poor. Yes, when he got some of his comfort champions like the Rise, they would bolster his stats, but even with those, you can see how his KDA is sitting in 10th for mid laners, his damage per minute is extremely low, and you look across the board at Jizuke, this man is sitting at the top for so many of these different early game and laning stats. However, today, Exile was able to get the surprise outplay. He was able to get the solo kill. He's dominating this 1 versus 1. And he's demonstrating that he does have the mechanical prowess to keep up with the young blood that he once was.
Hook into play. Totoro's here to try and distract Vitality. Jack Troll takes a chunk from the turret as well, but Mini Trupax is trying to focus down the first tower of the game.
White Knight is positioning, ready for a teleport. Kaba also has the TP up, but there are no wards here for White Knight to join in. Therefore, he's just going to go back to focusing on his lane. Cold now just here as a defensive disengage.
There's really strong vision control from Vitality down towards that bottom side river. 2 control wards at the top. There's a control ward here that Cold is cleaning out, and a couple of deep wards that will spot out any rotations from Unicorns of Love. Jizuki's going to teleport back into the lane here. Exile just wants to clear it out because Gilius was waiting in the wings. And this game, it feels a lot more even than I expected it to do at this point. We thought that perhaps the Caitlyn and the Thresh would push hard into Samix and Totoro, especially with it being comfort champions for Mini Trupax and Jack Drop.
They have been
Only a 5
consistently
CS differential between the two. Yes, the tower has taken a chunk, Vedius.
And I think that's the key thing to take away, because the thing about farming is if you work well with your support, and when you're playing against the Thresh, it's very difficult to necessarily deny farm, because it's not like a poke champion like Brand where you can effectively die and get caught out. You can just play pretty defensively underneath the tower, and it's more about taking that chunk damage down onto the objective. And throughout this early laning phase, Vitality have done a great job of slowly whittling that tower down and securing that first tower blood, which it should be coming out from soon.
Exile just used stopwatch. I think he meant to engage. He used stopwatch instead. That is a slight misplay from him.
Interesting. Maybe he wanted to use the QSS instead. Not entirely sure.
I think it's just a misclick. Never mind. He no longer has a stopwatch, Vedius, and that's the important thing for us to keep track of. Alongside that, there is a 20 farm lead for Cabochard in the top lane. It seems like the time Gilius invested really early on has allowed Cabochard just to be even and actually win out in this lane.
Yeah. Allowing him to get that bit of extra early pressure. He had an experience advantage because he got an entire wave himself. He also had the TP advantage because White Knight was forced to use it so early on. Just overall, set up Cabochard for success very early on. Didn't feel the need for a return gank. And that's why now he's investing a lot more towards the bot side. They want to get that first tower so they can rotate Trupax and Jack Troll up towards the top lane and maybe take advantage of the TP that Trupax picked up for himself.
We saw that yesterday for Mini Trupax. He teleported even before they got that bot tower. It opened up the top side of the map as they got top tower first. They got Herald off it. They got mid tower because Jizuke had been pressuring as well. Vitality's individual stars are incredibly strong, but also their ability to make decisions and act as a team seems to be very strong.
So, yesterday, we saw Zoe have a lot of teleports, right? Kind of annoying. Oh, we don't have time to talk about that because we've got to check out the bottom lane.
Jizuke is on his way down. Here's the TP. That tower's going to stand for the moment. Unbreakable down. The suppression comes out. Jizuke gets his first kill. Tower goes down as well. Now Exile's not in a good spot. The Cataclysm comes out. Cabochard with the engage. The counter-strike is going to do a lot, but Unicorns of Love will be able to disengage.
A 5-man group down in the bottom lane for Vitality. They had their eyes set on this tower, and they invested a lot to secure it. They get themselves a kill onto Totoro as well. Remember, he did use his ultimate earlier on to force the flash out from Jack Troll, but it doesn't matter. They didn't have it available for the disengage, and Unicorns fall further behind in this early game. So this is a very telegraph play. Unicorns are already TPing in advance, but Cold is nowhere near, and because Totoro stood on top of a trap and then got hooked up by Jack Troll, it resulted in a very quick death for him, and this could have been even more. However, the cleanse from Exile allowed him to escape from the stun, led by Cabochard.
The disengage that the Gragas has as well did help them at the end of that fight. Caught out Cabochard as he jumped in with the flash and the counter-strike. And we're seeing the power of Malzahar at the moment in the game. Jizuke with some good rotations with his team, catching out one member, suppressing them in the fight, and it means that Unicorns of Love are fighting 4v5s a lot of the time. White Knight didn't teleport to that fight either, so it was actually a 4v5 for the entirety of it. Now we see Mini Trupax go for that rotation you talked about, Vedius, looking to take down this top lane tower.
This is how you need to be using Caitlyn. Her early laning power allows her to siege onto turrets very effectively. By constantly pushing in, you just gain more control over the map, and this is something that Vitality have demonstrated multiple times they are very effective at doing. Early game controls in fast games is just one of their areas of expertise.
You can see the synergy. These guys have played together for a long time on Giants, now on Vitality. They know exactly where they want to position. 16 minutes into the game, there's a almost 3,000 gold lead now for Vitality, and after a promising start, the Unicorns of Love aren't looking as strong. However, they are still pretty even in the CS. We're starting to see these first items come out. It's Morello Nomicon for Jizuke, Static Shift for Mini Trupax, and that Ginsu's Rage Blade that we said Samix needed before he could really come online.
I mean, the thing about this UOL comp is... So I have mixed opinions about Zoe as a team fighter because she's so skill shot reliant that usually in actual team fights, it's very difficult to get onto the targets that you want. And when you're running a Gragas, a Cho'Gath, a Braum, and a Kog'Maw, I actually don't think the goal of your comp is to fight. What you actually want is the enemy to start sieging onto your base, and then you want to be able to stall and disengage to allow the champion like Zoe to find picks, find opportunities. Kind of like this right now in the top lane.
Glacial Fisher onto Mini Trupax, has the flash as well. Will get caught up with the concussive blows, and Samix is on the chase. The knockback, that's one for Unicorns, but they want more. They want Jack Troll. It's going to get a double for Samix.
Very impressive all-in from the Unicorns duo. They're able to answer back the confident early picks from Vitality's bot lane, and they find themselves a double kill. This is what the Unicorns needed. They needed to relieve some of the pressure that was being put down onto them. Now they're setting up their comp nicely for success. Let's have a look back at how this whole play happened. Mini Trupax, he's just trying to push out the wave. Totoro jumps onto a minion, uses the ultimate to hard engage. Jack Troll, I don't believe he had his flash for that play. I wasn't able to flash out and take his AD carry to safety. So they end up both dying. We did see a TP play up in the top, Mini Trupax being forced to use that one, but the tower still went down in favor of the Unicorns, and the goal gap is now starting to close.
Yeah, 1,500, they bring it back. Less than 20 minutes into the game, they have a good scaling AD carry. Zoe can be very effective in the late game if you can land those skill shots, so Unicorns of Love will be pretty happy with the situation we're in at the moment, but Vitality are trying to up the tempo. Taking this Herald opens up that mid lane, allows them to take a tower pretty much for free somewhere else. Mini Trupax is overextended here, trying to get to Jack Troll. The final shot of the concussive blows cannot connect.
I feel like Trupax is relying a little too much on Jack Troll right now. He's positioning in a way that is much more overextended than it really should be against a Braum who can hard engage and can force these all-ins if you do not respect the positioning of the minions and your opponents. White Knight also having a bit of a good trade here. He's going for the all-in.
Righteous Glory on towards Cabochard, but there's the Grandmaster's Might. There's a lot of shielding that you get from that. And Cabochard will be able to get away. He's finished the Trinity Force on this Jax now, so he's becoming a bit of a split push menace. I wonder how long White Knight can deal with him.
The thing about Cho'Gath is you do have a lot of wave clear, but you just shouldn't really win out on these extended trades because of Cabochard's passive and his ultimate and basically how obnoxious low cooldown Jax is. Jack Troll takes a nice slap to the face, while Gilius, his eyes are on top lane.
Samux gets caught out. There's the suppression. He should have taken cleanse in this sort of situation. I follow Riot support. I know what they want you to do.
He did have cleanse.
So, the reason I say that, Medius...
I know.
I'm going to explain it to the audience at large, though, because not everyone uses Twitter. The other day, someone tweeted at Riot Support and said, against Malzahar, you really need something that QSS builds into as an AP laner, because you have to build QSS and it uses up an item slot. And Riot Support tweeted back at them and said, why don't you just take Cleanse as a summoner spell?
Samux clearly took their advice.
Yep. It doesn't work on Nethergrasp. It doesn't work against Malzahar. But Cabochard's going to try and solo out this Ocean Drake. Being on this bottom side of the map does open him up to doing things like this. Vitality with a 3,000 gold lead at the 20-minute mark are looking in a good slot for this game. Let's have another look at Samux getting caught out, because this is just fun to watch. It's always fun to watch an AD carry get assassinated.
Get murdered, yeah. So the TP did come in from the Zoe as well. I believe it got interrupted by Jack Troll, but I'm not sure if he would have wanted to join that fight anyway. And then we get to have a look at Jack Troll taking a chunk of damage and basically Exile saying, hey dude, that was not cool.
That's just rude.
Yeah, it was rude. But now the siege, never mind. I thought they were going to begin pushing up in the middle lane, but it was only Exile. And this backtracks to the earlier conversation we were having, Medic, which is very much about this comp from UOL. I don't think is necessarily the strongest team fighting comp simply because of the Zoe being in there. Yes, you have a Braum, a Cho'Gath, Gragas, and a Kog'Maw. These are all great team fighting champions, but Zoe, because she's so skill shot reliant and because she doesn't have that consistent DPS in fights that you kind of want from a lot of mages, like Malzahar, Azir, Ryze, she's much better at being in a position where she can throw out this poke, where she can just slowly chip targets down, find opportunities to catch a target out, and then you force the fight. Unless that happens, you don't really want to force things. Unlike Vitality, you want to fight all the time.
Now the grass one towards Totoro. There's the Glacial Fisher. Exile needs to get away from this. Doesn't have the blue. That was taken by Totoro, and Exile is getting caught out. But here comes Samux from the side. On towards Jizuki, and Samux can open up the Kog'Maw. Bio-Cane Barrage on towards Jizuki. He's going to try and get away, but he's stunned up. There's another kill for Samux. His name is Samuel Fernandez for him at the moment. He is 3-1 on this Kog'Maw.
And Vitality, they feel confident. They've got 3 pushing lanes with Caitlyn in the mid, Jax down in the bot. And with Jizuke off on the side, but they keep just trying to find these picks. They keep trying to force these fights, which UOL are answering very well to. They found that double kill up in the top lane. They're able to find an answer in the enemy jungle. And just see here, they're trying to control this blue buff. They feel confident. They've got mid pushed in. They've got 3 members against 2. They just don't respect how quickly Samix can join the fight and how long Unicorns can stay alive for. The cleanse even come out from the Stealth Thief of Exile. And then when Samix joins the fight, they realize, okay, we can't stay here. He's going to kill us all. We have to disengage as quickly as possible. So 2 are forced to run away. And Vitality, even though they have the gold lead, even though they have control over the vast majority of the map, it does feel like they're being a little over-eager. This feels like an element of disrespect going towards the Unicorn, and after Unicorn's performance yesterday, you do have to question.
I think that deserves applause. Let's get that was a good stopwatch.
That was
a good stopwatch for Mini
He
Tree.
clearly misclicked as well.
What did you think he meant to do that? Because he hasn't got any consumables.
No, I think he dropped that control ward in the Baron.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then. Seen that a few times recently.
Yeah, so that control ward right there, that was what caused the stopwatch. But I did this yesterday when I was playing Aurelion Sol. I thought that my GLP was on one button, it was on a different button.
I don't want to be rude, Vedius, but I expect more from these guys than I expect from you in your solo queue
I'm
game.
just saying it happens. It happens to the best of us.
That it does. 3,000 gold lead here for Vitality. And we say they're being a bit over-eager, Vedius. What would you like to see them do? How do they play here and manage to bring your Unicorns of Love into fights they don't want to take?
Ooh, it's challenging because, as we saw yesterday, trying to fight against the Zoe can be really difficult. So I think they've got a really good split push comp. Oh, Jizuke being forced to TP out of there. That's going to hurt their 1-3-1 a little bit. But you just play through the Jax win condition. Vitality don't have to force 5v5s when they have so much threat on a side lane. The Jax is in a very strong spot right now. He should be winning out on these 1v1s. He's actually rotating up, potentially looking for some kind of a collapse, but I don't think he's really going to find anything. Vitality just need to keep playing the entire map. They're maintaining good vision control around the Baron area. They should really drop a ward or 2 for Cabo to allow him to just keep pushing, and they just slowly work their way towards these tier 2 towers. Their scaling is very good as well. Late game Caitlyn's going to be doing a lot of damage. And I think Vitality are in a fine spot. They just don't want to force any big 5v5 fights. It's the Baron that they really have to be careful of.
All it takes is one fight where Exile and Samix get a couple of kills each, and this game turns very much in the favor of the Unicorns of Love. They're going to try and push towards this Baron, get some vision for themselves. We tend to see this dance happen. One team gets vision, gets cleared out, then they have to back away. Vitality push back forwards into the river to get vision of their own. They've got this 1-3-1 composition going. They've got the split push from the Jax. But the Unicorns of Love are not making this game easy for Vitality.
But for Unicorns to be doing this well, considering the deficit that they're at, definitely signs of improvement for this team. They are sitting at the bottom of the standings with H2K, but after their win yesterday, fans are starting to regain that hope. Sheepy is working his magic again, taking these new players, this new setup, and turning it into a strong team. But going up against Vitality, being able to take a win against one of the best performing teams that we have in Europe would be a huge confidence boost for them. And the fact that Vitality currently have control over the game, they're currently in a position to succeed with their Jax split push. Jizuke now joining him down in the bottom lane. Very interesting coming out from them. Remember, he doesn't have teleport, so if UOL spot him, they could just go for a Baron rush. But I think they're going for a bit of a sneaky trap here onto White Knight.
Will he realize it? Will his spidey senses be working? He's getting engaged on. There's the Nethergrass. Kabashar taking up the tower. White Knight trying to get away. Right story with the flash. And that gets him to safety, but Vitality will push here. And Unicorns of Love react. They go towards the mid tower. Redemption comes down from Exile. And the tower will fall as well, but Vitality are not giving up on this one. Any teleports available? Let's look. Only White Knight has one. So Unicorns of Love are going to have to back away the normal way if they want to try and defend this inhibitor tower. There are the back pings. Kabashard and Jizuke looking for it. Should be able to take this turret down. It falls. And now White Knight might be caught out, but he eats Kabashard for breakfast. And he has to jump away. So he's got the flank. Here comes Exile. Cabo gets away with a great flash. And now Jizuke is caught on the wrong side of the fight. But We're going to see Exile split from White Knight here, and White Knight realizes that he hasn't got his top laner. Paddlestar towards the minions, he gets away, and now we'll have to see the 1v1. Jizuke with no mana, Paddlestar, the smite's there as well, but the bubble doesn't connect, and Jizuke is doing wonders here. He's got no mana, but they have a TP. Cabochard's going to join this one, and Jizuke might be able to get away because Cabochard is on the chase. If Jizuke does this, this is the best play I have seen this split in the EU LCS.
Jizuke does it again, 1v2. He's not able to get the double kill, but he buys enough time for his top laner to arrive. Stallions clearly stronger than Unicorns as Vitality begin their siege in the mid.
They've got the bot lane inhibitor down. Cold, Samux is off towards the side here, cannot defend this tower, and we see Jizuke and Cabochard coming up to help out the team. The wave is still rushing down the mid lane, but Vitality might just count their blessings. Get out, get an Ocean Drake maybe as well.
But I gotta take an opportunity to appreciate that play from Vitality. So unique in their approach. Not playing a classic 1-3-1. They sent Jizuke down bot to help Cabochard open the way to what was a very early inhibitor. Together they work in order to kill White Knight. Or the first time around they didn't kill him, they get his flash, but they secure the tower. And then because UOL do the standard of we should just trade objectives, they're not able to get back in time and recognize that that play was actually not in their favor. So White Knight doesn't see this coming. Cabochard just goes to the all-in. Jizuke with a very quick follow-up, and if he didn't have flash, this would have been a kill. But here, they push, and UOL can't back. They're split, they don't know how to react to this play, and they realize if we all go back, maybe Vitality can go for a Baron, so we can't afford. So best thing we can do is send Exile, Cabo with an insanely quick flash react, and Jizuke now just in the 1v1. Look at all the little minions, the Voidlings, doing so much damage to White Knight. He nearly gets killed, and then Jizuke's like, I don't have any mana left. And he's just sidestepping all the damage, making sure to avoid that
so good
spell that would have resulted in his life being lost. And Cabo's like, oh, you still alive? Okay, I'm coming to help you.
No man left behind.
Yeah, he gets the home guard proc and is able to get the kill.
It's easy to say that was Unicorns missing skill shots. I don't want to say that. That was Jizuke dodging skill shots. Fancy feet on the Italian stallion. Guess he has got 4 of them. And here comes the TP. They're making the same play again. Jizuke trying to catch on to White Knight. There's the Call of the Void. The silence comes out. Nether Grasp available as well. But Unicorns have started up the Baron. This is what we want to see. We want to see them reacting. Vitality will get a kill down towards the bottom side. Will the Unicorns commit completely? Because Gilius is waiting in the wings. A great chunk onto Mini Truebax. And the Glacial Fisher will knock him up. Unicorns 1,000. Gilius there. The God seals it away. Gilius is going to get chased down by Cold. The sleep on Jackron as well. But look at the base. Look at the base. Jizuke and Cabochard did not go back to the fountain. They're going for the win. And Vitality once again with plays that just no one else can even think of, that is, are going to take the Nexus and go at 5-1.
A very quick win there for Vitality. Unicorns are holding their own, but just as we talked about, play through the side lanes. Don't group up, don't try and run the risk of playing into the Zoe. And that's exactly what they did. Jizuke becoming this 2-man squad with Cabo. Eyes dead set onto White Knight and shutting him down. And they did a fantastic job of it. Cold, he miss-smites the Baron. He wasn't able to secure it. 72 HP was how much was left. And Gilius just comes in for the cleanup.
It's just the shot calling from Vitality. Yesterday, it's good shot calling in the early game to have Mini Truebax teleport up. Today, it's the decision to say we can 3v4, we'll bring 2 people down to shut down White Knight, and then we'll continue the push, and we'll go for the inhibitor, and we'll go for the Nexus towers. The Unicorns of Love looked better, though. They looked stronger in the early game. They didn't fall behind. Exile was even bullying Jizuke in lane.
It was. And there are definitely confident signs. Samux and Totoro taking it straight to Mini Truebax, shutting him down during, or after the laning phase, getting a couple of 2v2 kills. But it's just Vitality's ability to make these decisions so confidently. You know, like that there was a risk to that. You know, you send your mid laner down bot with no TP. If UOL rush Baron, are you really going to be able to answer it? You know, what if you failed to kill White Knight? No, they were confident in their plays. They knew they could secure the kills. They knew they could get at the objectives. And they get it all. They literally got everything.
Would you say it's a clean macro game here from Vitality? They played it very well. They didn't need many kills to close it out.
I don't know if I call it a clean macro game. It was just an effective strategy that they implemented extremely well. Because it's just, I'm kind of blown away because that's a very unique style to playing the 1-3-1 that we don't typically see, right? And we saw yesterday these guys innovate with how you use teleport on the AD carries as well. And they come up with these new strats. Yamato was talking about how on the podcast, they don't want to be a cookie cutter team. They want to be ahead of the curve. They want to be developing new strats. So you can see how consistent they are at not being afraid to just try something new.
That's great stuff from them. Our analysts have selected Gilius, Cabochard, and Jizuke as your candidates for player of the game. Make sure you head over to Twitter at LOL Esports and vote for your favorite and find out who wins when we return for our next game. Now, Vedius, if you were going to choose someone, who would it be?
Cabo.
Cabo. I like that. I like the confidence. I like the domination that came in with your voice there. Coming up next, Dracos checks in with Jack Troll to get his take on Vitality's performance. We'll also see if the Giants can continue to impress as they take on Schalke 04.
Because when you're relying on a player like Cold who is not...
Oh, Ignite goes out! Exo! Exo's gonna get a 1v1! Looking for some damage here. The heal comes out from Exo. There is the stopwatch as well. Jizuki jumps in, gets the suppression down. There's the hook as well from Jack Troll. And Vitality are able to collect. Glacial Fisher onto Mini Trupex, has the flash as well. Will get caught up with the concussive blows. And Samix is on the chase. The knockback, that's one for Unicorns, but they want more. They want Jack Troll. It's going to get a double for Samix. Jizuke might be able to get away because Cabochard is on the chase. If Jizuki does this, this is the best play I have seen.